In this lesson, we will learn about how to write ad copy and how to use the research we found and add it into some ad copy. Now, ad copy is really important to understand because ad copy will make or break your ad results. So it's vital to honor the time it will take to do ad copy well and do it effectively. So basically, your ad copy serves two main purposes. One, get the reader to stop and take notice, and two, get the reader to take action. So writing about what you have to offer is not enough. Your copy has to do the sales job for you of persuading people to take the action you need them to take. So here are just a few other things to keep in mind when writing your ad copy. So one of the biggest things you could do with your ad is think about how you are the solution to the reader's problem and then writing about that through the copy. And when you write the copy, you're always focusing on them and their needs and the solution that they want. You have to also make sure that they can see themselves as part of that result you're promising. So it's easier if you just pretend you're talking to your best friend and tell them exactly how they're going to benefit when they get the results you're promising. Through your copy, you really have to come across as that person who sincerely cares and who can also be that person who could help them overcome any hurdles they face on their road to getting them that result that you're promising they can achieve. It's like you're a cheerleader convincing them that it can happen for them and they can get there, because if they don't believe they can get that result, then you've lost a potential customer. Now getting to your ad title, it's a little bit simpler, and the simpler you keep your ad title, the better your ad results that you're going to get. So with your ad title, all you're going to do is tell them what they're going to get. That's it. This is not the place to get fancy with your wording or get into creative metaphors or whatever. This is not the place for it. So if you're offering an ebook on, how to write better ad copy, then that's what your title is going to be. Get your free ebook on how to write better ad copy. That's it. If they're getting tickets to an event, just say tickets to name of the event. And it's not even the name of the event, more only if the name reflects what the event's about. So if you're doing an event on real estate investing, you would basically say, get your free tickets to real estate investing event in, and then the location of where it's going to be held. Like, just make it pretty darn specific. And that way, when they're scrolling, most people are going to look at the ad title first, and that's what should stop them by that promise of what they're going to get. And it has to resonate with them, of course. The next thing to keep in mind is that you want to create emotion. And the way you create emotion is you first, because you know your audience at this point so well by having done your research, then you should have a really good idea of what they're afraid of if they don't get the result. So what could possibly happen? Will they lose face with their family and friends? Will they not like themselves as much? Will they lose money? Will they lose their jobs? Will they, not get the life they've always dreamed of? Whatever it is, then if you could bring out those examples in your copy, it's going to bring out that emotion. So they're either going to bring out an emotion of fear or anger or sadness or happiness. It doesn't matter what the emotion is. You just want to evoke that emotion in them to drive them to take action. You want to basically show them the pain that they're going to get if they don't get the action they're looking for. Now this is, of course, is not the place to manipulate people, because remember, it's like we're talking to our best friends. So if we sincerely are with our best friend and we're saying, look, if you get this is going to increase your ad copy, and I know how hard you've been working to build your company, and I really want you to be successful, and just think of how frustrating it is when you're not successful and when you're wasting all this money on ads and you're not getting the results you want. Like, that really sucks. So stop doing that. Learn how to do this and make your ads better and turn it all around for yourself. So you see how if you're talking to a friend, you could be a little bit slang and you could be a little bit playful and you can talk about those things that are a little bit painful and, you know, touchy to talk about, but they're your best friend, so it's okay because they know you're doing it to help them, not to manipulate them. So you got to make sure that that's how your ad copy comes across. And just two other really quick things. I found that in my ad copy, bullets work very, very well, especially if you're doing longer copy. So longer copy should be used if you need to explain things a little bit more. So if you're selling like fat loss chocolate bar that tastes amazing, that's pretty much all you need to say and people are going to want to buy it, right? But if I'm selling, you know, the specific bean that's only in the regions of this tropical island somewhere and they can get a whole chocolate ceremony experience around that, well, that takes a little bit more explaining to do. So my ad copy is naturally going to be longer because you want to answer the questions that they might have to convince them to click that action that you want them to take. So you have to pretty much do all of your wonderful sales job, and what's that end goal they're going to get when they get this wonderful magic, what did I say, chocolate bean chocolate bean to create their own chocolate factories, let's say, which will give them, you know, their sweet life they've always wanted or whatever it is. And you're creating that vision and you're telling them specifically what they want to get. And there's different people, right? So some people you need to evoke their emotions, some people you need to evoke their logic. It's best when your ad copy can do both. So logically, you should go because this is a fabulous deal and you're going to get this and this and this, and you can bring your family and you can bring your friends and whatever they logically might want to know. And then the emotion part is like, we're going to do these ceremonies that are going to help you overcome your fears or like whatever. And you know, just appeal to those people as well. So basically what your ad copy is doing is kind of capturing all the different ways of selling, but you are, in fact, just like what we talked about in the last page, what you're doing is you are creating the thing they want and you're creating that road on how they're going to get there through your ad copy. And of course, telling them what you need them to do and what action you need them to take in order to continue on that road and get that thing at the end. Okay, so using bullets to break all of that copy up, because that's a whole lot of copy, works really, really well. And also using emojis, because remember, if we do ad copy as if we're talking to one of our really close friends, like just think about it, when you texting your friends, you probably use emojis. Sometimes you probably don't even use words, you probably just use emojis, right? Emoji talk. And if you do your ads that way, again, it's gonna come across that you're like more on the same level as them and you're their friend as opposed to this marketer who's trying to sell them or whatever. So it just makes it look more friendly and it looks really pretty in the copy as well. So just something else to keep in mind. So now we're going to incorporate all that research you've done. So the first thing you want to do is add your main keyword and then maybe a couple other keywords that you found. You also want to use those questions you found. So you could either do it in the form of answering the question directly or a Q&A type section or just posting the question and an answer underneath that, whatever works best for you. And also, I'm going to just stress this again, because we've done a lot of research that has shown us what our ideal avatar looks like. We know how old they are. We know if it's a male or female. We know what they're interested in. Like, we know where they live geographically. So we know all of these things. So just pretend you're talking to that one person who's your perfect avatar. And what that will do is it'll make your ads come across, your ad copy, it'll make it easier. It'll make it come across as more sincere, but it'll also help you trigger emotions in that other person naturally. And we all know that if you could trigger emotions through ad copy, it's an extremely powerful way to sell. So that's when you see ads that say things like, you know, learn this and you'll impress your friends, or do this and your ads will make 10% more sales. Because then people, you know, you don't have to say much more than that. People are like, oh, 10% more sales would equal this much money in my life, and then I could go buy that thing I always wanted. And they're doing their own sales job after that. You're just telling them that you could help them make 10% more sales, right? So, and that's triggering all those emotions within them of what it would be like to have those things that they want because they're getting that extra income. And that is essentially all you need to do through your ad copy to have powerful ad copy. So I hope that helped. So now that we know how to create and like some basic formulas on how to create our ideal ad copy, now let me give you some rules to follow. When you're writing Facebook ads, it is critical to follow Facebook's ad policies because nowadays, luckily, they are much more willing to guide you on if they don't approve your ad, they kind of guide you on why not. Now, they're not going to specifically say, you know, third line, fourth word, take that out. They're not going to do anything like that, but they're going to kind of use some guidelines on why your ad wasn't approved. And luckily, you can make the fix of what you think the fix should be and resubmit the ad. So that process is a lot easier, but it wasn't always the case. And there is always a possibility that if you don't follow their guidelines, that they could remove the ad completely, or worse, they could shut your account down if they think you're violating their policies. So you have to be really, really careful with your ad copy. Now, if you followed advertisers for years, I mean, a lot of advertisers have a tendency to exaggerate claims or make promises or whatever, like in order to make a sale. Facebook ads is not the place to do that. So remember, if you just follow that guideline of talking to, like you're talking to your best friend, you wouldn't lie to your best friend in order to get them to buy something from you, right? You'd be real. You'd be like, look, I've seen other people get these results from this. I can't promise you it'll work for you, but I want you to try because I want you to get some really great results. And this is realistically, this is how percentage of people who've seen this, and this is you know, something else they've tried, and this may do something like this. You're not going to make those bold claims and say, take this and I promise you that you'll be the smartest person in the world, or like whatever. Like you just don't make those types of bold claims with your friends, right? So just kind of follow that guideline. One of the biggest rules that I personally follow myself, and I'm very mindful of when I'm writing ads, is you have to be very careful to ensure that people can't self-identify in your ad. So especially if you do anything medically related. So if you're saying something like, so I have a client who is in the diabetes space, so I would never say, do you have diabetes? ? And then continue with the ad. You just don't do things like that because you can't have people going, oh, well, yeah, they're talking to me. You can't have that happen. But you could say something like, people with diabetes generally experience these symptoms. And then anyone listening to that don't know you're talking specifically to them. Now, I know you're thinking, well, for ad copy, that's not quite as powerful, right? However, it's a safe guideline to stay with under if you don't want your ad shut down by Facebook, okay? So remember, I also said you have to pretend you're talking to that one person. So you do, but be super careful again that that person can't self-identify that they have that problem specifically that you're talking about. I know, it's kind of an oxymoron. I'll show you how I worked around it in some of my ad copy. On top of that, I just want you to know some additional very direct things you should be mindful of that coming directly. This is taken directly from Facebook, and this is called misleading claims. So you have to be really careful not to do anything that's exaggerated or claiming specific results that people could get, or misleading claims or anything like that that could potentially get your ad shut down. So just keep this handy. I always refer to it when I'm doing the ads, just as a nice little reminder. And then it becomes kind of second nature when you're doing ads. Just you'll notice that you just automatically, you know, your mind just goes to that place where it knows what to do. So very important to keep this in mind, okay? So review it, review this, go into Facebook, go right into their ad policies, review that if you've never done that before. And if you've ever had your ad shut down, you could go right into your ads manager, and from there you could see the reason why they chose to shut down your ad. You'll notice as you do it more and more, you'll just naturally get better at it, and your ads will almost always get approved. Okay, so I'm just going to show you some samples of ads that I just ran and how I worked around some of these policies. All right, so here's one ad, and this ad has to do with a diabetes event. So if you notice at the top especially, I'm starting off by telling them what they're going to get. I did mix in some of the keywords I found to do with diabetes, added some hashtags at the bottom. You can see I've got emojis spread throughout. And this ad had extremely high response very, very quickly, and which was great because I didn't even have time to split test on it. So let's look at this up here. So, you know, I start out by saying start living the healthiest life possible while managing diabetes. I don't say, do you have diabetes? Do you need to learn ways to manage your diabetes? I don't say anything like that. Now, my second sentence is a little bit pushing the limits on Facebook because I'm saying learn how to manage blood sugar levels. And it's almost like a silent you, because it's almost like it's saying learn how you can learn how to manage your blood sugar levels. It's almost like saying that but omitting the words you. So you have to just be really, really careful about how you do it. So that one is almost pushing it. So I'm glad this ad got approved because again, you can tell it's a much more powerful way to word it. To be even safer, what I could have said was people will learn, or attendees will learn, how to manage their blood sugar levels. And then I'm keeping it very generalized. I'm not specifically talking to that one person who could self-identify that they need that because they have diabetes. So like I said, I pushed it a little bit with my wording here, but it worked, and the ad worked really, really well, and luckily it got approved by Facebook. But that's just an example of an area you might want to be a little bit more careful of. So what else you'll notice is with the title, I just put the name of the event, and that worked really well. And same thing, if you're using a title, you could kind of break the rules a little bit because I am talking to people with diabetes, but I'm putting a title. I'm not saying, hey, do you have diabetes and do you need this? So that luckily got moved through. Okay, so let's have a look at another one. Okay. So this one here, it's a wellness escape to Costa Rica. So I didn't start the ad by saying, are you stressed? Are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling like you need to get away, or because your world is crumbling down, or whatever? Like I mean, things like that in other ad sources might work really well to attract those people who need these types of vacations, but I didn't start that. I pretty much just started with something very general. What does this look like for you, right? And I bet it looks like this and this kind of, and I start building that word picture in their mind. You picture these tropical forests and gourmet foods and all of these wonderful things. So then people who really need that vacation and who are feeling the stress could start seeing themselves in with these words without me needing to say, are you stressed? Do you need a getaway? You know, do you feel like you're pulling your hair out? So it's just kind of like my workaround with it. So it's a very fine balance between doing good ad copy that typically works where you're talking directly to the people and you're trying to identify that specific person who really needs something like this, and you're balancing with what Facebook rules are. So it's a little bit tricky, but you can tell in these two examples, hopefully, how I've worked around it and trying to please both parts, right? To do powerful ad copy plus kind of simmer things down for Facebook's guidelines. And like I said, the more and more you do it, the easier it becomes and the more natural it becomes to write in this safe type of way where you're basically doing effective ad copy within those guidelines that Facebook is asking you to do as part of Facebook advertising. All right, so I hope this lesson was super valuable to you. I know that it's some of the rules and information I wish I had when I had started writing ad copy for Facebook ads. So I'm really glad you have it. Please watch this again. Just really pay attention to those tips. And all I could say is that the more you practice, the better you will get and the faster it'll be for you to write the most effective ad copy for your target audience. So go ahead, practice, have some fun with it, get some awesome results, guys, and I will see you in the next lesson.